Alright, in this video we'll actually start building our bot. Before we do that, I've made a small flowchart which will give you a clear understanding on what we'll be doing. So let's look at that, and after that we'll start building. So this is that flowchart. As you can see, we have three components. The first one is the client, the second one is Twilio, and the third one is our server. So whenever the client sends a message, Twilio receives it because Twilio has access to that number, and Twilio receives it and sends the same message to the server, and it queries the server for the response, and server takes this message and generates an appropriate response and returns it to Twilio, and Twilio takes this response and then sends this WhatsApp message to the client. So this is how the bot works. So it's very simple. The message flow, as you can see, is extremely simple to understand. Now, what is our task? Our task is actually to create this server, build it, and deploy it. And after deploying, just hook it to Twilio so that whenever there's a message, Twilio actually queries the server. So that is our entire task. So let's get started. And to do that, just go ahead and open up PyCharm. Now, as you can see, we have our basic Hello World program. Now, to execute any Python program, what you have to do is just hit Python space the file's name. In this case, it's main.py. So we'll enter main.py and hit enter. And as you can see, Hello World is printed on the terminal. Now, let's just clear everything because we won't be needing this. So I'll just clear this. Now I'll just show you a few settings that I'd like to change in PyCharm to improve the code's readability. To do that, just hit Ctrl-Shift-A and you'll get this pop-up. The first setting that I'd like to change is called Soft Wrap. SOFTWRAP. Now this wraps text into a new line, so it prevents text from overflowing. Like if your message is very large, it wraps into a new line. So it is turned off by default. If you want your messages to be in multiple lines, then you can just turn this on. And the second setting that I'd like to change is called change font size with Control plus mouse wheel. If you turn this on, then you can control the font size by Control plus scrolling up or down. So these are the two settings that I'd like to change. Now let's get started. Now let me just hide the terminal because we won't be needing it now. So let's start by importing Flask. So from Flask, import Flask, and the second thing is request. Okay. Now Flask is to create our web server and request is to send and get messages. Okay. Now after this we'll have to import Twilio. So from twilio.twiml.messaging response we'll have to import messaging response function. So these are the things that we need to import. Now after this we'll have to initialize our application. So to do that, let's define a variable app equals flask of underscore underscore name underscore underscore. Now what we have done is we have initialized this app variable to a Flask application which takes in name of the module as an argument. Now after this we'll have to define the app's route. If you don't know what route is, I'll just explain that in a moment. For now, just type this in. @app.route. We'll be using the base route, so just a /, comma. Now we'll have to define methods through which we communicate. So let's just type in methods equals get is the first method to get messages, and the second method is post to send messages. So we'll be doing those two things, so we'll have to type in get and post. Now coming back to route, you can think of route as something which helps us distinguish between different parts of a website or a server. So, and also we don't have any pages or any stuff which differentiates parts of our application. So we'll be using this single route, that is the base route. So I hope this makes sense. Now after this we'll have to define our main function. So let's call it reply. Okay, def reply colon So this is where the main code goes. Okay, let's define response equals messaging response. So we are initializing response variable to messaging response function. Now after this we'll send a response. So response dot message of let's send hello. Okay. Now for every Twilio function it expects stringified version of response as a return statement. So we'll have to do this for every Twilio Flask application. So just type in return space str of response. So after this, we'll have to run our application. So to do that, just type in if underscore underscore name equals underscore underscore main, run the application. So what this statement means is if this is the program that is being executed, then do this operation. Now the operation is to run the application. So just type in app.run and we'll define the port explicitly because although 5000 is the default port, it's better if we are on the same page. So port equals 5000. So we are pretty much done with our function. Now it's time to run. So we have built our basic WhatsApp automation bot, which responds hello for any WhatsApp message. So now it's time to run it. To do that, just click on terminal. So we'll need to do two things. The first thing is to run our server locally, and then the second thing is to make our server accessible online. So for that, we need two terminals. So just right click and just click on split vertically. And this will give us two terminals. So I'll just clear this. And in the first terminal, just type in nodemon main.py. Now what this will do is, this will watch extensions py and JSON, in our case main.py, and then restarts the server whenever there are any changes. And in the second terminal, this command is going to be a little bit longer, but I'll try to make it as clear as possible. So let me just minimize this terminal because this might take a little more space. So in this terminal, we'll execute the local tunnel command. To do so, just type in nodemon -watch. So we'll watch for any changes in main.py file. And then whenever there are any changes, we'll execute by --exec. And in these quotation marks, you'll have to type in LT, which stands for local tunnel, --subdomain. I'll type my name. You can type whatever you want, but just make sure that it is unique. And after that, just we'll have to specify the port. So --port, we'll be using the 5000 port. As you can see, we have defined that explicitly. And after that, close the quotation marks. And finally, we need to mention delay for nodemon because if at all we don't give any gap between server restarting, local tunnel will assume that this subdomain is already taken and will assign some random subdomain, which is not what we want. So just define --delay. I'll use 2 seconds as delay. You can use 2 or 3, whichever works for you. And I'll hit enter. And as you can see, this URL is assigned to me, and just copy this URL and we'll have to hook this to Twilio. So just go ahead and open up twilio.com and click on console. If you haven't logged in yet, then log in and then click on console. And then we'll get our Twilio dashboard. Now click on programmable messaging, which we had pinned earlier. And then go all the way down to settings. And then click on WhatsApp sandbox settings. And then here change the URL to whatever URL that has been assigned to you. For me it is this, and I have already set this. And once you have pasted this URL in this box, make sure to click save. Okay, once you save this, we are ready to test our application. Now as you can see, this is my WhatsApp. Now before starting, make sure to send this message if you haven't already. Now, as you can see, we are all set. So it has to be working right now. Now I'll just go ahead and send good morning, and it should respond with hello. So it is working as expected. Now let's change some things. Let's say we change this to hey, and the server is restarted. Now let's just send good morning again. And as you can see, the message has been changed to hey. So this was building a basic WhatsApp automation bot. In coming videos, I'll teach you how to reply with media and also conditional messaging. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.